Struggle and resistance, they're the foundations of why we don't try anything new, why we stop before we start. It's that 100-kilometer-per-hour wind that gets in our way as soon as we're pushing towards anything new. It's resistance, struggle, bad feelings of all sorts. If you're looking for a good book on this topic, you should read The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. He talks a lot about resistance and all the different types of resistance we feel as creative people, as people of all sorts. And he dives heavily into the topic of all the different types of resistances we feel and why we potentially feel them and how to break past them. So why do we feel such resistance? One of the main reasons why is because of the big word, fear. Fear is ultimately the decision killer. It's the thing that gets in between yes and no, that likes to push towards whichever one is considered the safe decision. So you can imagine you're trying to make a decision of whether or not to try something new. And you can imagine it's this and here. It's the thing that causes you to struggle to actually make a decision because you're fearful of whatever is getting in the way. And one of the main things that causes such fear in our body, we also feel physical feelings of fear, is the amygdala. The amygdala is the part of the brain which causes that fight or flight feeling whenever we're experiencing fear, which in our lives now, sitting on the couch, it almost is a negative. We don't need to, something that's really good when you're running from bears in the wild, you're running from predators of any sorts, but when you're at home, safe, trying to figure out whether or not you want to take up roller skating, it's just something that gets in the way. But fear often leads to two things. Fear, when you're trying to push towards new things, it leads to stagnation and regret. Regret ultimately being a feeling you'll feel in the future when you don't pursue stuff that you might have wanted to in the time you were trying to make the decision. The fear got in the way. But talking about this reminds me of the Bruce Lee quote. I have it down here. I haven't memorized it. Be like water making its way through cracks. Do not be assertive, but adjust to the object, and you shall find a way around or through it. When I also talk about this topic, I like to talk about physics. A term often used in physics, which is inertia. And I like to relate inertia to stagnation when you're being fearful of trying new things and the fear that's getting in the way of a lot of us when we're trying to step out of our comfort zone. And most of us like to just stay on this line of inertia, and it's something that causes the stagnation. So you can imagine this line as the line of inertia, or the line of, I'll go down here, stagnation. And this is where most of us stay throughout our life, just kind of moseying around and not trying anything new. And most of the time when we do this, we don't figure out what we're passionate about, and we often don't pursue certain things that will end up in regret. So most people are wondering, so when you're trying to break out of this stagnation, this line of inertia, I like to think of the line heading like this. So you still have your normal path. You're still you. You're still doing the same things, but you're doing a few extra things. And you kind of break off. You're building almost new neural networks in your brain. And you think of, these are the branches of the tree, and the branches from which the tree will grow. And you can also look at this, I don't know whose quote this is, but the path of the exceptional is one of the exception. There's 3 types of fear that we should talk about that get in your way, just so we can out them a little bit, there's FOMO, FOF, or fear of failure. FOMO being fear of missing out. And there's also the fear of success, the FOS. Fear of missing out being a kind of a blend of a bunch of different fears, being fear of failure. You're scared of either failing or what people will think of you when you fail. Fear of success being all the duties or all the stress that might be put upon you when you achieve success. Because often when you achieve success, success for the rest of your future is almost, what's the words escaping me? It's expected of you. So how do we step out of our comfort zone? Or we can look at it when you're in your normal comfort zone. Maybe you're in your comfort zone right now and you're wanting to either step out of it, try something new, or another thing you could say is just you're expanding your comfort zone. You're going from this little zone to a larger zone. The number one thing you can do is just take action, go do something different, and try new things. When you try new things, you're embracing your curiosity, you're building those neural pathways, that neuroplasticity, and you're just getting out there. That's one of the best things you can do for yourself, is just to try new things. And it's ultimately the path you have to take in order to figure out what do you want to do in this world and what brings you the most joy and what are you truly passionate about. Another thing I wanted to just finish off with, I'll erase some of this. It's another term I like to use, which is the three musketeers of inertia, or like we talked about, I'll fix that, stagnation. Them being, these are the three things that get in your way, the three things that cause most people to never stray off their path of stagnation, their path of inertia, which causes them to never explore, never figure out what they're truly passionate about, never figure out their perceived purpose in their life. Fear of failure being the first musketeer in the three. Second is stepping out of your comfort zone. And the last one, we haven't talked about it yet. We've talked about fear of failure. We've talked about stepping outside of your comfort zone, or even trying to expand it, trying to try all these new things. So you get kind of used to trying new things, getting used to new experiences. But the last one is, which we haven't talked about, paradox of choice. What I mean by this is one of the main reasons why a lot of people get overwhelmed when they're trying to figure out, this is mostly in the case of, I'm trying to figure out what I like, what do I want to pursue maybe in a career path, what do I want to write about. The paradox of choice is there are so many options out there that each option added just makes the decision harder and harder. You might think when you're going to the grocery store and you're looking at chocolate bars, you might think it's better to have, instead of just two options, to maybe have four. You have this huge selection. But this introduces the paradox of choice, which is more options there are, the harder it is to make that decision. And in the world we live in, there's so many options when you're trying new things. There's so many options for career paths and really doing anything in this world. And to finish the three musketeers of why we like to stay on our line of inertia, we like to be stagnant, we like to not really try anything new, is we're scared of failing, we're scared of what people will think if we fail, where it's really hard to step out of your comfort zone initially if you're not used to it, or even expanding your comfort zone. And there's so many choices out there that it's hard to narrow it down. But I know this video is all over the place, but the one thing I'll leave you with today is just, you have to try new things in order to expand your comfort zone, get out of your comfort zone, in order to figure out what you're passionate about, what you like, what your perceived purpose is in this life, what do you want to pursue. And I think it's the foundation of a lot of the things that we end up doing in this world. But take all this, think about it, and I'll see you later.